Join us, please. And I'll also just comment, now that we're up on YouTube and we're filming and recording all of these meetings, as I watch them, volume levels so far seem to be a little low, so, and I can't understand people necessarily, so I'll just ask people to have mic awareness and be pretty close to the mic, so when this goes out to the public, it's not like, what are they talking about? So, just mentioning that. So we have a report under budget instructions from the Department of Technology. If you gentlemen would give us your name and title, and if somebody would like to discuss what's in the report.
Carlos Perez, Chief Information Officer.
Majid Isaac, Finance Manager.
Thank you very much for being here. So what is this report telling us, Mr. Perez,
Actually, I'm
or
going to
whoever's presenting?
Imagine.
Okay, this is per the commission request. They asked for a list of technology contract from DOT for the fiscal year 17-18 and fiscal year 18-19. So this is like a breakdown of all technology contract, through the
Is
Department of
personnel
Information
included
Technology.
here?
I'm sorry?
Is personnel included if we're doing outside contracts?
no, no.
Okay. Do you report on that, or is that even a issue anymore? Because I think we started talking about this 7, 8, 9 years ago when we were doing more outside contracts to bring people into work here. And there was a great concern on the commission, about privatizing the department and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that was when these budget things started. So this is just non-personnel
Yes.
contracts.
Correct.
Correct. And
So,
actually, the second item on the agenda today is the staff augmentation report.
Yeah, the staff.
Which is the
is the
part you're
other
talking about.
shoe on this.
Correct.
So everything for getting our little $30 million changeover to a new system, all of that stuff shows on this report?
Well, no, because part of that was human resources. Part of that was in growing
Okay,
our
well, the
staff.
IT part of that anyway.
Actually, take a step back. The 30 million, which is part of the ERP project,
Right.
is a item that's under the M&B budget, not the technology budget.
Okay,
The tech-
so the reporting comes there.
Correct. The technology refresh, which was the $5 million, that's what you're seeing here.
Okay. All right. Anything else you have to say about this? If not, commissioners, do you have any questions on this report? Maybe we'll look at the second one in conjunction and, because it's also a receive and file. And so we'll go through that one and then vote on both of them at the same time to receive and file, if that's okay with the committee. So what's the second report then on personnel?
Well, I guess we're moving on to the second item. Yeah, it's basically, we have, I think, 2 contractors at this point, Cheryl. Go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
I think it's one, Vision Pro.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Reuter. I'm from Information Technology.
Welcome.
Thank you. We have a contract with Vision Technologies and Reliance One, which we use to employ contractors. We have one contractor at the time, currently, with Vision. I'm not sure what else you wanted to know.
Do we still have, how do I want to say it, personnel? Do we still hire people under contract that are not county employees that are working in the department?
Yeah, we do. We have a small, comparatively small budget allocation for staff augmentation for people who are working on projects that have a definitive end date, or for folks that have talents that we can't get for a comparable
right.
price. And there's not a lot of cases for that. We've seen that case where there's a long-term employee in contracts and a long-term employee in development. And sometimes the real reason for that is actually immigration issues. There are people who are talented who can work as contractors who can't work under our guidelines. In
We
government.
must have been doing more of the, for lack of a better phrase, outsourcing for employees 4 or 5 years ago than we're doing today.
Millions of dollars more, yes.
I'm sorry? Mr. Abbo, you have,
Through the chair, and Carlos just mentioned, Carlos, you may want to mention that over the last several years, your department has made a concerted effort to move contractors in-house so they become.
right, that's what I was getting at.
Correct. So we took a lot of the positions that were permanent and should have been internal employees, And we actually unionized the bulk of my department in the last 2 years, I believe.
Excellent.
So I think we're somewhere around 30 positions actually were converted. And it's actually turned out to save us money
Yeah, excellent.
and build morale at the same time.
And, right, exactly, and we're putting more money into the retirement system, which is necessary as well. So that's another good aspect. Questions from commissioners on either one of these two receive and file items? All right. Pleasure of the committee then on these first two items? All righty, any further questions before we go to vote? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye, opposed? Anybody abstaining? Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you very much.
We do have another receive and file item from Corporation Counsel, I believe. Yeah, there we go. Reporting on the settlements that the county has been, the settlement report for December of 19. Name and title for the record.
Cheryl Jordan, Deputy Corporation Counsel.
Okay, so you've seen the report?
I have. I believe there's only one item on it.
There's only one item.
So every month, Corp Counsel sends a report of the items that are actually paid out or settled. So
Yeah.
this item was already approved by this committee and by the
Right.
full board, so.
And this is, since it's a December 19 report, this is only that 1 month. These are
Correct.
what,
Correct.
yeah, I kind of like it that it's Mary Rowe versus Rick Snyder. That's interesting.
Apparently, we send them to you even if we have no settlements for the month.
Any questions from committee members on the settlement report for December?
Move that we receive and file.
Support. Quick pause for any other comment or question. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Are there abstentions? Thank you very much. Madam Clerk,
Item 4, requesting commission approval of the reappointment of Ms. Donnelly Cotton to the Wayne County Zoological Authority Board.
okay. I also know her, she's also on the Art Institute Authority Board. Pleasure of the committee.
Support.
Are there any questions at all that anybody has? The resume is in there. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Abstentions. All righty, thank you. Madam Clerk, what's next?
Item 5, requesting commission approval of a settlement in the matter of Stephen Jervis versus Wayne County et al.
Okay, if interested parties would join us at the table here, please.
Do we have to have a
I'm getting there. Oh, sorry. I'm getting there. How would you like to handle this today? Name and title for the record, and how would you like to handle this today, counsel?
Good afternoon. Chair Margaret Flanagan, Assistant Corporation Counsel. This is an item that we've requested be taken into consideration in closed session. As is always the case, when we request closed session, we cite the statutory language that indicates discussion of this item in public. If it is our opinion that it has pending litigation and that would have a detrimental financial effect on the case, that we would seek a closed session discussion of the matter.
All righty, thank you. I'm a big fan of the Open Meetings Act, so I'm always very cautious in when it gets exercised.
I appreciate that.
I guess we need a motion to go into closed session. And that was seconded.
Support.
Commissioner Clark Coleman. That will require a roll call vote. So we'll take a roll call vote on the motion, and then we'll go into closed session. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll on that, please?
Commissioner Scott? Yes. Commissioner Clark Coleman?
yes?
Commissioner Basham?
Here. Yes.
Commissioner Killeen?
Yes.
Chair Webb is excused, and we are
Okay.
now in closed session.
I will ask, we do have to clear the room and put up the signs. I will ask Commission Counsel, if you could, the item before us is?
E, such other matters as may be properly submitted.
5.
Requesting commission approval of a settlement in the matter of Stephen Jervis versus Wayne County et al.
There's a motion? Support. A motion for approval and support. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
And we'll roll the agenda. Madam Clerk, what is next?
E, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
I believe we have one of those. Let's talk about fish ladder, shall we? And what may or may not be going on with our fish ladder on the Rouge.
Move adjournment.
She said move adjourned.
Waiting for a second. Waiting for a second. I don't have that power. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we got a little bit of a snarl, I understand, on this, so if, again, names and titles, and please lay out why you want to address this as some such other matter.
Cheryl Jordan, Deputy Corporation Counsel.
Elizabeth Isler, Wayne County Parks.
Noah Mullet, Wayne County Environmental Services Division.
I don't believe your mic's on, Mr. Mullet. All righty.
I'm going to say it again.
One more time now that the mic is on.
Noah Mullet, Wayne County Environmental Services Division.
Jim Jernigan, Assistant Corporation Counsel.
Okay. A lot of weight here for a fish ladder, so what do we got? What would you like to make us aware of at this point?
Well, so I'm not sure. Has this item or issue been presented previously to this committee? Just the general concept of it? No. Okay. Well, we'll probably let either Noel or Elizabeth talk about the project and.
Yeah, the only thing
why
I'm
we're
aware
here.
of is there's a lot of snarling going.
Okay.
Being snarled going on.
So if I may
So,
start,
counsel?
so through the chair, so the department, the administration approached the chairwoman last week in an attempt to get this on for full board. However, we were unable to do so.
Right.
We had some issues that I think we just worked out this morning, so it was not able to get on your agenda for today. But the department, is my understanding, will be seeking immediate consideration at the next full board. And the chairwoman wanted the committee to be aware of the item prior to it going straight to full board.
Thank you, counsel.
Well, and I'll just give a very general overview, and if you have specific questions, then it's a settlement agreement for a construction project to construct a fishway around the Henry Ford estate, which is, I believe, and you guys tell me the more technical aspects of this, but it's basically like a stream for the fish to go around. The project started in 2018. And there, as everyone knows, we had some very unusual rain and flooding over the last year and a half, maybe even 2 years. And so as a result of that extreme flooding and extreme rain, some of the work that was performed by the contractor was damaged or washed away even. And so there were claims going back and forth between the contractor and the departments. We're saying, you got to do it again, it's in your scope. They're saying, no, it's not our fault. So it was a fight, and an actual claim was submitted. So this agreement that was submitted is titled a settlement agreement, but for all intents and purposes, it's essentially a continuation of a construction so that the work actually gets done for a settled upon, agreed upon amount, less than what the contractor wanted, probably more than we wanted to pay, but that's the true definition of a settlement. So that sort of gets out of the way why it's called a settlement agreement, but that it actually has some pertinent construction work terms and actually incorporates the previous, 500-page construction agreement. And so I'll let them go over the actual details of the agreement.
No, I think that that's an accurate description of the events leading up to it. The Commission Counsel and I specifically, and Ms. Jordan, we've been talking about the actual, some of the nuts and bolts of the terms of the agreement itself, just to make sure that warranties and guarantees made by the contractor pursuant to the original contract that was entered into in 18 survive, so that they are required, so that the contractor is required to do everything that they are supposed to do pursuant to the terms of the original contract, in addition to the added work terms that are outlined in the settlement agreement. So that's, that's the long and short of it. Okay. And so, going back a few months, there was a lot of back and forth between Corporation Counsel and the attorneys for this particular contractor about some of the nuts and bolts of this agreement. We were able to, shortly before Christmas, literally sit down in a group over on the other side of the building and work out the final few terms that would be satisfactory to both parties. And that's where we came up with salient terms and the amount outlined in the settlement agreement.
Okay, and I'm going to open to Commissioner questions in a second here, but Mr. Mullet, tell me where I'm going wrong here. The county has spent considerable dollars and energy in cleaning up of the Rouge River out there, working with the Friends of the Rouge. And this matter of the fish, right, that in the upper reaches of the Rouge River, there used to be no fish up there with all of the pollution. And so the idea around the dam was is you provide a way for fish to migrate up there. So the stream that was the bypass wasn't doing the job, so we needed to put in a fish ladder to help those fish get up over the dam and into the
No,
Upper Rouge.
Excuse me, through the
Well,
chair.
that's what I asked. Where'd I go wrong?
There's a dam at the Henry Ford Estate,
Right,
and that dam blocks off fish passage.
right.
To 3 branches, basically 3/4 of the Rouge watershed from the
Right.
Great Lakes system. So with the fish passage, the dam is going to stay there, and there's actually
Right.
basically more or less a natural stream that bypasses the land across Wayne County Parks property to get around the dam. So there is going to be passage, fish passage.
Yeah, that's what I
there
thought.
For the first, so it's not a ladder, it's more of a
Oh,
natural
okay.
stream channel.
I thought maybe we had a way around it, but we needed to engineer a better one. So, okay, that's good. I'm sure in all these discussions, the phrase acts of God came up more than once.
So it will just, excuse me, I mean, it'll be the first time in over 180 years that there's a connection between those parts of the Rouge River and the Great Lakes system.
Absolutely.
So that's significant. I mean, the state, the MDNR fisheries have been sort of begging for this project for over 20 years. And it's being fully funded through the EPA under the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. So there really isn't any county dollars involved.
Dams have done a lot of damage to our streams all over this state before we figured out that wasn't the way to do it. And a lot of dams are being removed. Questions from commission? Thank you for that, Mr. Mullet. Questions from commissioners on this? Because what's going to happen is it will be walked on to the agenda next week. Commissioner Clark Coleman, and then I have Commissioner Baydoun.
Okay, so the only thing that you're looking for from us is the approval, because the money, you already got the money, right?
That's correct.
I move approval.
Well, we're not doing that today. This is just because it's not officially on our agenda today, but that will be,
It's not going to be on the agenda?
it's not on our agenda today. It will be on full board in a week, so we're not going to make
Oh,
any
okay. All
motion
right,
today.
then I guess we don't have to.
Commissioner Baydoun?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't sit on this committee, but I have a lot of interest in this subject since I live in the neighborhood. This is almost in my backyard.
That's what I understand. It is in your backyard.
And this is my trail on my weekend walking. So I'm very familiar with what happened there with the soil corrosion, and all the trees that were planted ended up being in the river or in the water. So with this settlement, are we still working with the original contractor?
Yes.
Okay. And my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is going to cost another $800,000 to $900,000 to do all the corrections?
800 is the settlement amount.
The 800.
Correct.
Okay, and all of this money is coming back through funding from the EPA, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it's not costing Wayne County any money whatsoever. What about the time frame in terms of completing this project?
Well, Noel can address the technical components of it, but the contractor is required, there are 2 parts of the contract. They are required to complete what is known as substantial completion, which is most of the work that needs to be done, the planting, the walls, by August 2nd of 2020. So essentially toward the end of this summer. There is a monitoring period of roughly 14 months because what they are doing has to be monitored for 1 full season, 1 full planting and growing season, which will carry us into 2021. So the contractor is required to monitor what has occurred, and obviously we'll be monitoring it too. But so the final monitoring date, if you want to call it that, by which the final few things have to get done, is October 31st of '22.
Okay. I don't know where the engineering went wrong on this project. I do remember that rainfall, it was in March of 2019, I believe, when everything collapsed. So what kind of measures did they add so we make sure that this is not going to happen again?
Key thing that is happening this time, and one of the reasons the final completion isn't until October of 2021, is we're going to keep the sheet piling up to ensure that the vegetation it gets established and stabilizes the soils. So that was a critical factor in the erosion, that the damage that did occur. The sheet piling was driven down. The installation of the vegetation and the erosion control blankets didn't occur in the optimal time frame. They were really kind of done in the hardest time of the year to do it properly, so it failed. And with the erosion, the soils that were washed out, the repair involves a lot of additional rock to fill in the void, some heavier rock to fill in at the top, so it won't be as susceptible to erosion. And then, of course, by keeping the flow out of the channel, it will only be really, really extreme events that might go over top of the sheeting that would flow through the system. And at that point, it's typically backed up already, so there's not as much energy flowing through the fishway that would cause erosion. So in fact, there was just a record events the January 11th through the 13th, and with the initial repair that the contractor started, it held up very well to that. So we're pretty confident it won't happen again.
A couple more questions. The bridge leading to that area is going to remain, correct?
Yes, the maintenance
the
bridge.
pedestrian.
Correct.
In the pathway leading to the Fishway project there, is it going to be like a grassy area or gravel or?
Yeah, it'll be
Like a
pretty natural
trail?
looking. It's not going to be an asphalt. It's not going to be
Okay.
paved, anything like that. It'll be more like a trail. It'll be like a two-track that you might be familiar with up north, where, there's an obvious, you can drive a vehicle through it, but it's not going to be
Okay.
paved in any way.
All right, when you go down from the Andiamo Trail, before you get to the bridge, on the left-hand side, all those trees basically died. They didn't survive, and because of the major flooding that we had. What about not planting trees there and keeping it natural so we don't see the same results? Do you know which area I'm talking about in specific?
Yeah, no, we can certainly take a look at it.
Your microphone, please.
Coffee. Yes, no, we can certainly take a look at that area and see if we should shift or, putting this trees in the back in the same place or not. But we can look at it.
I think some of the issue with, I know some of the trees, they were planted a little bit later than they should have been. So they, not only did they take the water damage, but they were just kind of not ready to get hit with cold weather.
Yeah, and some trees are, designed to take, being flooded, for temporarily, not long-term, but they can take water and sit in it, and their feet can get wet, and, they're okay, but we'll look at it.
So that specific area that I'm speaking of, several of my buddies, the walkers and the people that I talk to,
Yeah.
they mentioned this to me. They said, why doesn't the county keep it like a green area and put like 2-3 picnic tables so when walkers or joggers are up and down, they can rest, they can have a drink over there? Because that's the county land there.
Right.
Instead of planting trees, why not put like 2 or 3 benches or picnic tables?
Sure, no, we can look at that.
Okay.
I think that's part of it from a park standpoint, that has been a very kind of underutilized space to us. And I think we're waiting for the Fishway project to be completed, sort of see how everything settles out, and then start to look at it from a recreational standpoint, and how could we add some amenities? I mean, one thing we definitely want to do is add some trail markers, because people do get kind of lost in that area. And there's the people who, like yourselves, who are always back there, and you know where you're going. But if the public does come, we would like them to know where they're going and feel, a little bit safer anyway. So that's part of, from a recreation and park standpoint, is looking at it kind of after this project is done. But those are very good points.
Okay. Thank you. I just can't wait until this is done.
All of that.
Any other questions from commissioners on this? Thank you very much for coming today, and perhaps, just for the purposes of this project, once substantial completion is done August 4th,
Second.
maybe we should hope for a good rainy fall, a big snow cover this winter, and more good rain in the spring, and really test this thing and find out right away if it actually does the job, and not wait for another weather event 5 years from now and go, oh, So maybe we should hope that happens. Thank you so much for coming today. Madam Clerk, what's next?
Public comments.
Any member of the public wish to address the Government Operations Committee of the Wayne County Commission? Any member of the public? Is there any member of the public? Madam Clerk?
Adjournment.
Without objection, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.